coming. I really appreciate this. Today's Lunch and Discuss is going to be a lot more casual. I didn't have as much time, but at least I can introduce the concept, show some examples, and then I think hopefully we'll start to kind of see like what dark patterns mean, how they affect us, because they do, and we'll get to that. So, what is a dark pattern? Some of you might know what that already is, and some of you might not know what that is. Who has a cell phone? Who uses the internet? So you interface these likely on a daily basis, whether you like it or not. So dark patterns are uniquely crafted scenarios that intend to achieve particular outcomes. We're trying to invoke a behavior, and we do this every day in the work that we do at TALLWAVE. Not necessarily dark patterns, but we're trying to give people an experience. So how does that connect to dark patterns? It's kind of exciting. I think on pay-per-view, we started to think like, oh, that's neat. Like I'm understanding people's behaviors. I'm navigating a user through an experience. But really, dark patterns should mean a lot to us because they can sometimes change the way we see something, get value from something, or even like trust a brand. So dark patterns are often used to manipulate users. Unfortunately, dark patterns arose because we figured out by using data and computers, we can be smarter than our users to a point where we can actually dive deep into their biological needs, which could be like addiction, gamification, and then we can motivate them to do things that maybe they didn't realize they wanted to do. So they're usually based off specific attributes of human decision making and known as cognitive biases. So when we think about what motivates us to make a decision, there's been a lot of research around, I might select this purchase because my friends like that. But what if the types of information you're getting aren't really what the people around you trust really believe? It's just like kind of massaging that information so it appears to be that way. So a lot of companies, unfortunately, have taken this approach to take advantage of their customers more than they maybe should. So this all stems from social engineering. Who's heard of social engineering? So social engineering is the kind of the umbrella topic of all the different strategies you can use to understand how people make decisions. Social engineering is also an approach a lot of con artists use to manipulate people. So one example is around the corner. You approach a truck driver and you say, actually, this order is supposed to be delivered over here, not where you were originally thinking. And so you can coax them to change the direction, and whether that's physically through infrastructure or digitally, and then either manipulate the person, take their personal information, or physically steal from them. So social engineering has a history of being tightly married with, a lot of underground, maybe not legal businesses, through like mafias and such. So I kind of explained what that means a little bit. It's a little scary to think that now we have algorithms that are so intelligent, they can make decisions better and faster than we can. There's a venture capital firm called Andreessen Horowitz that talks about how, what if we got to a point where algorithms were so good at predicting results for us or preferences for us that we become submissive to those types of algorithms? And what if it gets so advanced that people don't actually realize it's happening, and then that just becomes part of their daily routine, not making decisions for yourselves, but just allowing systems and computers to do it for you. So when you think about it at that point, then it gets really awkward because it's like, where do we draw the line between progress and really taking away the human element out of these systems? So you can kind of read that. That's the Wikipedia definition. So where might we encounter this? And I think all of us can probably think of a dozen different scenarios where we encounter this on a daily basis. Points of sale, when you're checking out on a website, maybe physically in a store or on a digital website. Customer service experiences. Who's called Cox Communications or any other like bandwidth provider and just feels like they can never get through to the solution? So why is it that you can enroll in service in a minute, but canceling service can take like weeks? And so there have been studies where some companies, they allow you to enroll in service in literally a few minutes, and it can take up to like 9 weeks to fully cancel that service. Why is that? It doesn't make sense. So no way. Like, how is this happening, and why aren't people doing something about this? I think when I first discovered dark patterns, I realized there's, I think a lot of people might say, well, can you still achieve like a profitable business and not use these kind of patterns? And you absolutely can. It just takes more time and effort and research and creating great products, the kind of things that we do here at TALLWAVE. So that's something I think we can be proud of. So who has encountered a dark pattern? And maybe blur them out. What are some that you can think of that you've experienced recently or top of your mind?
I signed up on a grocery website. It was super easy to sign up, and there was no way to cancel from their website. And their phone number on their website led to an automation system that you couldn't get to a human on.
That's a great example. Anything else?
Sorry, go ahead. When the checkbox is already pre-checked for you.
Yes. That's a great example. We're going to go into that. Any others?
Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo.
Yes.
Wells Fargo, a dark pattern company.
I tried closing accounts, and I don't think it's actually closed until, and it's been a couple months, and I think they just like, because I still get emails saying that, hey, your account's still open. I'm just like,
But like, you didn't really want to close this, right?
Exactly.
Like, all those messages, you're just kidding, right? Yeah.
AT&T recently, I tried, actually ended up succeeding in closing out a second line that I had on my account, but they actually, through the process, took about 20 to 30 minutes, but I was on hold. They had to approve it for some reason, and it took about 10 minutes. I was sitting there at the actual location, and they had to call in. It was just a big mess. It was just kind of like I was trying to exit out. They even tried to persuade me into a free tablet, and that still had its hidden agenda. But
yeah. Any others?
Well, both of those canceled the credit card with Chase 9 months ago. It's still there.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
If you call them, the account is closed. But if you actually log into the app, it's still there. And then Verizon, I switched off my parents' plan a year ago, and it had been 3 months that I'd already been off, and my mom still got a bill for my line. Like, they waited, didn't bill her for 2 months, and in 3 months they're like, oh yeah, this line too. The one that she called me canceled for.
Jeez. I think we can all relate on that. That dark patterns, they're kind of a bummer. And it's too bad that they exist. I have an example. I was using Hotels Tonight recently, and I was at the hotel, and I was about to check in. I have a confirmation on my phone, and I talked to the receptionist, and they're like, doesn't exist. Call Hotels Tonight. I'm right, I'll do that. So I call them, and they're like, we'll look into it. Can we put you on hold? They put me on hold with no music for 20 minutes. It's like, where did you go? Like, what's happening? Do I hang up and like do this again? And then they got back on, they're like, oh, we were able to do this, but we still need to like call the hotel and verify it. And they did it again. I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm like in this weird limbo state. I have no idea what's happening. So those are all little things I think we can really improve upon.
Hey Raphael.
Yes.
I spent 40 minutes on the Legion airline trying to get a refund on my bags, checked bags. So Legion Airlines, if you call, you're gonna have a horrible customer experience. I'm not kidding. I called twice. 30 minutes the first time, 40 minutes the second time.
They're like, he was out here with 30 before. We'll stretch it out.
I know and went back.
He's committed.
It's be ready.
Yeah.
Isn't that obvious? They just don't care.
Right? And it's kind of like, how can these companies do that? It's like, if this is happening to, I would imagine, the majority of their customer base, like, shouldn't something change? And so we'll kind of go into how we can create that change. So some other examples. A lot of these we just mentioned. So this is a UK company that sells sportswear online, and they automatically add something to your cart when you check out. Since they did this is actually becoming legal. So this country has now put a protocol across the design of these checkout experiences so now it's illegal. So that can't happen. It just takes enough people to stand up for it. But isn't that ridiculous? Mm-hmm. So
let's go, Daddy.
What's that?
That's GoDaddy.
Oh yeah, GoDaddy. That's bread and butter of their business. So here's another one. Sorry, I know it's hard to read, but everyone kind of, I think, will agree with the automatically checking for subscribing to information. It's like, I don't need a weekly email or bi-daily updates on what's going on. I just want to use this service. And that one, I think, is all too common. This is one of the most famous dark patterns in the dark pattern community. So this is Ryanair's website. I know it's hard to read. When you want to opt out, you have to click a drop down and it lists the countries. Underneath Denmark, it says, don't insure me. Or else you enroll yourself into insurance. So I'm like, oh, how crazy is that? And it's like, if you're in a hurry, I mean, if you're buying a plane ticket, you might be in a hurry. And so, who's going to take the time to read through that list unknowingly? So this has been flagged as like one of the worst dark patterns in existence. I don't know how Ryanair is doing because of it, but clickbait. I think we've all seen a lot of that. Basically, positioning ads so that it's like not really clear. Like, what am I? Something pretty awesome awaits. Maybe more confetti. So British Airways, and I think the example of the airline is pretty much consistent across the board. The constant bombardment of being sold different products. Like, I just want the ticket. I don't need a hotel or a car or all these other amenities. And so I just grabbed a couple of screens from British Airways because here's another UI dark pattern, and I think those are the most common, where the alarming buttons on this page are to reserve the seats and enroll yourself in a $32 fee. But it's not as clear that this takes precedence over this, but really, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe they should have the same sort of level of transparency to the user. But you'll see that pretty often, where the primary buttons really aren't the primary action the user wants to make. Another, inserting excessive promos. I think we can all relate. When we log onto our personal banking, there might be like a screen that gives us a promotion before we actually get to our bank account. Mike West mentioned that yesterday, so that was for him, but I guess I'll send it to him. Here's another good one. Does anyone get the alerts when they're on their phone, when they're like their bandwidth is almost up? I think I get this every month when I'm about 80% full, and it's like a day before it's supposed to refresh. I'm like, would you like to upgrade? I'm like, clearly not. Like, I'm not going to use like 3 gigs in 24 hours. It's like there should be some sort of regulation there. So, but who takes the cake? Who's the worst? Who recognizes this branding? Spirit Airlines, famously for having the highest profit margin in the airline business and the worst customer satisfaction rating in the industry. They pride themselves in dark patterns. It's like they wake up and they're like, how can we screw people over today? Like, I have an idea. Let's charge them if they have shoes on. So I'm sure I fly Spirit Airlines, so I mean, I guess I don't really need any of the amenities. I just take it, just like try to ignore it. But the walkways into the gate. Look at the fabric like tape that you walk through. They have these quotes on there that are hysterical. It's almost like they know that they're doing bad work, and they like kind of just accept it. Because one of them I read, I thought this was hysterical. You're in line for a long time because they're always late, and it's like you're almost gonna be there. And it's like, how do you know that? Like, does that mean you're never on time ever? So it's hysterical. So Spirit Airlines, definitely not a plug. And these are a few other examples. I think we can imagine how much social media dark patterns, probably some of the worst that we see on a daily basis. And I think this is a funny one. The enrollment in live video on Facebook. It's like, just having things automatically play. Talk about distracting. Like, I would imagine if I was a child growing up and that was my first interface with social media, and that's my baseline, how much further could you push that dark pattern to where then they really start thinking like, oh, this is kind of distracting. Like, oh, put on my VR goggles and do the thing for 20 minutes? Okay. Like, how far does it go? Cancellation policies are impossible. I think people talked about that. So, what would a world look like without these dark patterns? So I think we can imagine a couple different brands and companies that have done a really good job creating great customer experiences that really care about the user. So truly user-centric. And I think education is a good piece. For example, gamification thrives on the fact that addictive behaviors can keep people interfacing with a product. But if you want to teach something, maybe that's a good thing. You know, and I think Duolingo has done well for that by getting people to interface with language learning really well. But also Khan Academy has built, it's called the scaffolding education process, where you kind of like, you're going through the different levels of learning and you achieve, you know, rewards through gamification. And I think that's really beautiful, especially because it's free. So there can be good dark patterns. So I have this crazy idea. A couple of us were talking about this with food and philosophy, which you'll notice is always in the lunchroom every day. Join us. We were like, well, how can you stop dark patterns? And I was like, well, what if we patented all of them? And then we like charged companies if they wanted to use them. I don't know, this is like kind of ridiculous. But think about it, how like Apple and Samsung are doing that. They're patenting these little user experience flows that are really kind of are just the bread and butter of UX. But what if you patent all the dark patterns? Maybe people wouldn't use them anymore.
Money.
They just think of worse ones, like Spirit's like, oh, too easy, we got this. So let's be part of that, you know, the bright patterns out there that shine through and they do good for people. So who's leading the charge for good? A couple folks here. This guy named Harry I've been connecting with. He is kind of the face, the poster child of dark patterns. And what he's done is he's created this community where if you find one, you tweet it and then tweet the company. So they're like, oh, they caught us. And then people start seeing that. So you create this conversation. It's really beautiful. So that him and a few people are on this whole team working on it. I'm like, keep bugging them, like, I want to help. How can we do this? They're just crazy busy.
What's his handle? Harry.
Yes. And then Mike Leach brought this guy up to me recently, who was I guess the lead at Google for ethical design.
Yeah, he's a design ethicist at Google for a long time. He was a developer, and then I guess at some point he realized he was making all of these questionable decisions, and he's like, I'm going to kind of lead the charge in that direction.
So I think that's pretty cool. We have some people, some thought leaders that are really trying to drive that home. A little side note, about 2.5 years ago is we passed the threshold where deep learning computing became smarter than human intelligence. So now it's like, now we have these frameworks, we can literally pull down something from Watson and you could plug it into, you know, an AI that you're building with your product, and it will inherently be smarter than a person and can manipulate that person in real time. So now that this is actually like a commodity thing versus like oh, that'll never happen, it's kind of cool to keep that in mind that we should be cognizant of the importance. So, thank you, and check out this website if you want to see a bunch of dark patterns and relate to other people that are fighting the fight. Yes.
I saw something yesterday about Google DeepMind
Yes.
and how they